My annual fall color trip is the highlight of my year, an opportunity to do photography in some of my favorite places and spend time with friends I rarely see. The memories and images from these trips are transformative, restorative, and inspirational. They remain with me for years to come. This year's trip began in Arizona, where I made a brief foray to explore and experience the Kaibab Plateau and the north rim of the Grand Canyon, hoping to catch the Aspens in peak autumn color. As it turned out, nature had other plans. Fierce winds and dense haze and smoke made photography difficult, and I was forced to improvise and simply enjoy what was. So, it is day one of my Zion 2019 trip. And as you can see, I'm not in Zion. I came out here to the north rim of the Grand Canyon on the edge of the Kaibab Plateau to camp at a remote campsite about 15 miles down a forest road on a ledge overlooking the north rim of the Grand Canyon. And if I'm being totally honest, I didn't really anticipate shooting any film here or even really any super serious landscape photos. It's more like I came out here just to experience this place and to sort of cross an item off the list of things I've wanted to experience. And I'm kind of glad that I approached it with that mindset because I don't know if you can tell, but that doesn't look like the north rim of the Grand Canyon, does it? Because there is a ton of haze. I think it's wildfire smoke because it smells smoky. And there were signs that said, beware wildfire smoke. So the visibility is just absolutely terrible. It's like milk. It's worse than Southern California smog, if you can imagine that, which smog is pretty terrible. So visibility is like extremely impaired. All you can see is a very foggy, slight silhouette of the, interior of the Grand Canyon. So you don't really have any color, you don't have any definition, and you can sort of photograph like a little bit, maybe black and white. But overall, the conditions are just terrible for photography. So on top of that, the Aspens, which are normally in peak fall color around this time of year, have been stripped clean by a lot of fierce winds. Last night it was howling, it was rocking my car all night and howling fierce wind. The forecast said 35 mile an hour sustained. I don't know if it was higher than that. I would not be surprised because we were up on an exposed ledge overlooking the Grand Canyon. And I think those forecasts were not for here, they were for further in. So, yeah. But anyway, I'm still glad I came out here because this landscape is so colossal. It's so vast. It's so wild. And just to see America this way, to see like the incredibly vast plateaus and mesas and expanses where like there's places out here you could see like 75 miles uninterrupted in every direction essentially, and all you can see, and the only sign of civilization is the road you're driving on. I mean, it might as well be Alaska. It's crazy, and that was worth coming out here for. This morning, though, it's a little bit of a plot twist. No, so I came out here to photograph the Grand Canyon and to see it and everything for sunrise. I arrived late last night because I drove all the way from Southern California and it was a long haul. And so I'm wiped out. I get here, I make camp, go to sleep, or I should say lay down. And I toss and turn all night. And part of it is because like this is only my second time sleeping in this car and it's not totally level. So I'm still working that out. And then on top of that, it was really cold. So I had my one sleeping bag on, and I was tossing and turning all night until 6 a.m., which is crazy, because I went to bed at like 10:30, 11. And finally around 6 a.m., I was cold, so I got up and I got my second sleeping bag out. So I put two sleeping bags on and my coat. And then I went back to bed
And I was expecting I'll just be like slightly warmer or whatever, you know. Well, I knocked out like a lamp. And then I wake up and the sun is completely up and I've totally missed sunrise and slept right through it, which is like the whole point of coming out here. So I was so mad. I was so bummed that that happened. And yeah, I should have set an alarm, duh. But I actually didn't know what time the sunrise was, and that really threw me off because at 6:30 this morning it was pitch black. I don't even know what time it is now. I haven't looked at the clock. But yeah, so whereas at home at 6:30 the day I left, the sun was coming up. So yeah, the time zone difference kind of plays with you a little bit. But anyway, yeah, should have checked, should have set an alarm. But in retrospect, I didn't really miss anything because I can't really imagine there being much of a sunrise. I mean, visibility is just shot. There's nothing there. You can't see anything. So anyway, so what I'm going to do now is I think I'm going to go eat breakfast, make some coffee, and then probably make my way back out the 15 miles to the paved road and see if I can find some aspens and stuff to photograph. They might be picked clean already, but we'll see. If they are, the white skeletons of the aspens against the evergreens make for some cool images, so we'll see. So I'm just out here on the side of the road on the Kaibab Plateau, and I've been photographing these beautiful stands of aspens. There's no leaves left. The wind has just cleaned them out, but they're forming these beautiful tree skeletons, perfectly isolated against these tan grasses and evergreen trees behind them. So it's got this incredibly nice detail and contrast, and I think it'll photograph really well. Hate to disappoint anyone. Probably will disappoint about everybody, but you'll notice I'm not carrying a camera bag or a tripod. I photographed on this camera, my Micro Four Thirds digital. There's been a lot of wind, a lot of subject motion. The digital is just a lot better fit for the conditions, and I'm not even sure these are going to turn out, so I kind of like being able to experiment. I think this may be a trend. We'll see. Let me get my car here. So, yeah. Part of the reason I haven't been making as many videos lately is the fact that I have had, especially over the summertime, a shortage of time and money, which has basically meant that I can't afford to spend hundreds of dollars on film and development and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of my time loading film holders and prepping for trips and unloading the film holders and driving the film to the lab and driving the film back from the lab and scanning it. And so it's come down to either shooting digital or just giving up on photography. And I have zero problem shooting digital. The person's brain and eye behind the camera is the arbitrating factor in whether or not a photo is good or not. So the process and the look of film is what, I'm generally after. Going forward, I'm probably going to be blending the two mediums together and shooting film where it makes sense and digital where it makes sense, and just kind of finding some kind of a balance, a harmony between the two mediums. But anyway, I do have lots of film on this trip, and I have the new Intrepid 8x10 Gen 2. I have the new Intrepid 4x5 Gen 4. And I also have a new camera, the standard 4x5 that they sent me to try out. So I am going to be shooting all of those cameras hopefully in the next couple weeks. So should be a fun trip. Zion 2019.